Well, you now know who we are, so that's one bit got over with. So why are we both here? Well, as most of you I think know, Calrec and SSL are sister companies, part of the Audiotonix group. And one of the great things, certainly that from a personal point of view, that I found working for Audiotonix is that as a group, they definitely value individual brands that we have within the group. So that means they like to maintain the brands, to maintain the identity of the brands, and also the products within the brands. That said, that doesn't mean to say we don't talk to each other. So obviously we do talk to each other. We share experience. We share knowledge of the industry and of individual products. And probably most apt for the conversation today, we also share development. And the New Heights project that we have christened at Calrec and SSL is an excellent example of that, Tom.
Yeah, no, it's a way of sharing that development and collaborating on it where appropriate. And as you said, keeping the brand's identity separate.
Absolutely.
Is it going to work?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to go into the slide in detail, but the biggest question is why? I think why would you want cloud processing? And the shortest answer is because customers came and asked us for it. Customers said, what can you do in the cloud? They'd been doing some experiments with video production in the cloud. They'd kind of done more and more of that. They'd done audio on the small scale. People had put things together using DAWs. They'd used the audio engines inside the video tools. But no one had done something that was a console in the cloud. And no one had kind of really pushed that to its limit. And we kind of looked at production models. We kind of looked at what the slide says. And obviously, originally everything went out to site, remote production, probably 5 or 7 years ago, kind of started being a thing. Then it kind of moves to a more centralized hub-type model, distributed model. And we kind of see cloud as just the next step of this. It's another option in what we have available. We certainly don't see it as a wholesale replacement for hardware DSP and hardware controls. It's a kind of additional piece of the puzzle to that. And so we kind of see a future of like a hybrid approach. Obviously, there's kind of local DSP at a venue. You need to feed IFBs and that kind of thing. You might have a cloud DSP for the production side of it. There are other use cases we've been talking to people about, disaster recovery, that kind of thing.
Okay. So certainly bringing us back to the project we're working on, Tom, one of the key points of it really was to provide operational and, if you like, tonal familiarity with the operators that we have. And that's true as much as true on the Calrec side as it is on the SSL side. So what is New Heights? What's the shared bit of technology that we're talking about here? Well, the shared bit of technology is the back-end DSP technology. So we're talking about not DSP in its entirety, but the components of the DSP is what is shared, which critically means that we can use Calrec interfaces for Calrec operators, and we can use SSL interfaces for SSL operators, so that from a group point of view, we cater to all our customers in that respect. So the shared part is the components or the building blocks of the DSP, if you like. And obviously, what we're planning to do is to get that back-end processing engine running in a virtual machine on a public cloud somewhere. Now, you may ask, and we get asked this quite a few times, does that mean that the Calrec DSP is going to sound exactly the same as the SSL DSP? Well, we're talking about fairly granular DSP blocks here. So we're not talking about dynamics level or even EQ level, really. We're talking more granular than that. So the build will be different. The Calrec engine will be a different build to the SSL engine. And to a certain degree, you can't really separate the control UIs from the DSP. So given that the control UI is different, there will be tonal differences between the Calrec build and the SSL build.
Yeah, they're the consoles you expect in front of you, just the technology behind it is shared. The next thing we're going to talk about is actually doing this. So I often think just because someone tells me we want to do something, you kind of need to prove it's possible. So the first thing we did was actually run some real productions. So they started off as shadow productions, and we went to a broadcaster who wanted to do it and said, let's try this out. Hopefully the marketing animations work correctly. Ooh, we do. So we had an event going on in Washington, which was where there was Calrec kind of I/O boxes, and that was where the audio was pulled on. That was the Calrec technology involved. We had a very early prototype of the New Heights DSP running in Virginia, so running on AWS. And then the control side of this was parts of a System D console up in Connecticut. And they kind of ran this as a shadow production. And then the night before one of these kind of proof of concepts, they said, we're going to put this on air. So it did go on air. It went on air twice. So that happened. That was a lot of fun. It was nice and stressful that evening, but anyway. So it's kind of analogous to like a remote broadcast situation with a host broadcaster passing off discrete feeds. A key question everyone kind of always asks is about latency. So the ping time from the control position to the DSP was 13 milliseconds. It's pretty good, round trip. We ended up with a buffer time on the audio feed of 20 milliseconds, which felt pretty comfortable. So you could press a button and 20 milliseconds later the change would happen. The next time we did it, the venue moved. The venue moved. So it was a very similar setup, but with the venue much further away, in this case on the West Coast. But the important thing was that the mixing position and the DSP was actually in the same place. And what's key about this was that we definitely came to the conclusion from a control latency point of view, and the latencies that Tom was talking about, getting your DSP processing, or in AWS terms, the VPC, as close to the operating position as you can is the favourable is the lesson to learn. We obviously talked about to customers about other usage scenarios, and there's a whole range of other scenarios out there, from adding control for remote locations for in-ear feeds, to adding commentary onto host broadcaster feeds, providing. We already know there are a number of broadcasters doing automated cloud productions for news. And of course, then there's the sort of DR and backup scenarios that we can talk about. So this slide, have we got this slide up? Yep.
So this slide is we're not going to spend all afternoon talking about this, and Heather's already signalling to me. So what we briefly wanted to show you in here is that we have audio processing and the control processing in the cloud, and a direct connection to control surfaces, and that is a direct connection, so it's discretely different from a sort of from a desktop type connection. And the DSP is capable of 5.1 multi-channel support, including the 5.1 immersive formats we were talking about.
And in the trial we did a 514 mixed to binaural because we could, a bit like I was discussed before. I guess quickly comment on the I/O. So in terms of infrastructure and transport in the cloud, obviously within AWS there is no multicast, so we're in unicast situations. So we've used a lot of NDI, so pretty analogous to SDI or 2110, kind of streams that you put audio into and pull it out of. We've also used the Dante Connect product, which is a lot more like a mono audio router, so it presents as Dante's channels that you can route and patch between each other. That runs fine in AWS. There's more bits of that, but I think if I go into that, Heather will come upon me off the stage. And we did our own kind of RTP stream as well, just as another experiment on the side of that. So there's kind of lots of options in terms of the I/O, and we see that as ever growing based on customers' needs.
As we've already said, there will be, in terms of the software bundle that we provide, there'll be different versions for the SSL product and the Calrec product. And the plan is very much to provide a software bundle as a deliverable that our customers can deploy in their own public cloud accounts, enabling them to build out their own production infrastructures and mix products from different vendors on their own accounts.
So here we go. I think that kind of wraps it up, Henry, doesn't it? I don't have anything else to say on this.
No, I think the last point I think probably is just to say that is where you started from, actually, Tom, which is that we don't see cloud as the be all and end all. That we foresee a hybrid environment for many years to come, based on physical hardware control surfaces.
Yeah, a mixed kind of hybrid multifunctional approach. Well, thank you very much for everyone. I hope everyone has a great day, and come find us later.